Or
Okay, welcome to this Superversive SF live stream. A bunch of us went to the Dragon Awards this year and, well, went to DragonCon in general, and I thought we'd have a chat about that because we thought that'd be fun. Not everybody here was at the awards, but many of us were, including myself. I flew over from Australia. And, yeah, we have Marina Fontaine, El Jadji Lamplighter Wright, Dawn, how do you pronounce your last name?
You ask me this every time. Witsky.
Witsky, that's fine, because I can never pronounce Ben's either. We have David Halquist, we have Corey McCleary, we have Ben Zvitsky, I got it right, from...
Yeah. Dawn's surname with a Z at the start, that's all.
That's all right.
so do Witsky and Zitsky rhyme?
I don't know.
Yeah, they do.
Focus.
They sound exactly the same other than the Z at the start. So.
Focus. And Ben from the Czech Republic was also at DragonCon. He flew over as well, and April Freeman, also at DragonCon, but, you know, like she actually lives in the area.
Yeah.
So, I know I had a blast at DragonCon. It was enormously fun. I didn't actually get to that many panels, but I met a lot of people, and I got to meet, except for David, I got to meet all you guys in person, which was nice, because I'd never met any of you in person before. And I had fun. And then I spent some time up at the Wright's place afterwards, which was fun too. And got to meet Tom.
And we met Corey.
Lots of people. Yes, we met Corey. So, and the Dragon Awards were poorly attended, but entertaining. The reasonable criticism, they probably shouldn't have scheduled some of the winners or some of the nominees to be on signing panels at the same time was not unreasonable, and it probably would have been better attended if they hadn't. But anyway.
Not only that, but they listed it under second annual. So even people who really wanted to be there had a lot of trouble finding it in the app.
Yeah,
it might be nice if they just, picked a name like Dragon Awards or Award Ceremony and listed it that way in the future.
That was
I was able to vote, but it was difficult to get it once they basically sent me an email at the last minute saying, "Oh, you can vote," and so I managed to get that in. But
yeah, I voted at the last minute too. With it being listed in the wrong place in the app or hard to find in the app, that's just a bug in the app. I know exactly why I was listed under S, because they just sorted everything by the first word.
Right. What I'm saying is that if they want it to be important, they have to spend more time acting like they think it's important. And I sent back in their little comments thing a number of points, like, schedule Jim Butcher to be there so he brings his fans. List it so that you can find it. Give out ribbons to the people who are nominees so that there's a notice so they can talk to people that they meet about them. I mean, there's a lot of really simple things that other cons do. Even Balticon makes more of its Compton Crook Award than DragonCon is making right now of the con paying attention to the award. I should say they had some great people there the guys actually running the award ceremony itself did a great job. They had some, top names handing out the awards. Jerry Pornell got a standing ovation. Everyone, including Larry Niven, stood up. And they had some, pretty cool guys up there. They had one of the editors from Baen. They had Larry Correa handing out stuff. Some of the top science fiction lady or fantasy writing ladies from when I was a kid were there in person handing out awards. But I don't think they listed this in a way that fans of those people who might have liked to meet them or see them knew to go there to find them. The award is still
small, and the con is so big.
Right, but when people go there, they want to see, let's say, Jim Butcher, but they also might want to see Mercedes Lackerty or Jerry Purnell or Larry Correa. The con needed to list on the award ceremony the guys that they brought in who were a draw so that their fans knew to come there, you say. If they did that, we would probably have the room packed.
It's their second year. They're allowed to make mistakes.
It's not so much as it's a mistake as that there's a lot of room for them to improve. But the really cool part was that they had 8,000 people vote. I believe that's more people than have ever voted for the Hugo by a couple thousand.
Yeah, it was over 8,000.
Yeah, and those I heard it was even more for nominating. That was like 9,000
Well, is
nominated.
it
Yeah.
total votes, or he won? Or the win was the winner got 8,000 votes? Because I'm pretty sure Ringo said that
Ringo said,
he
yeah,
that
over
he got
8,000.
over 8,000 votes, which means that many more
Well,
people voted.
Right. That suggests it was a lot more people. What the guy at the time said was 8,000 people voted. That's what he said on stage during the ceremony.
Yeah.
But it may mean he may have meant 8,000 people voted on this, or one of them might have the number. But the point is, that's more people voting than have ever voted in a major science fiction award previously.
Yeah, so there's definitely interest.
So and if you look at who won, it was straight out fan favorites all the way down, and in majority of cases, or maybe all of them, I'm not thinking of them all at the moment, but really good works. I was so happy to see like the Dresden Files get something, and Larry Correia and John Ringo got something, and they had some hilarious videos that they'd made with Jim Butcher, so
Someone
every
did a
time he won.
Jim wasn't able to come since he was scheduled, so he sent a video and also sent Harry himself to come get the award.
Yeah, Harry Dresden picked up the award, which was kind of cool, and he was there with his daughter.
I actually, I saw someone had posted a video of Jim Butcher during one of the Q&A sessions, and he actually ended up. It was the first time apparently I heard the story about him being cursed by a Amazon witch doctor. Which, if you just like YouTube, Jim Butcher, Jim Butcher witch doctor, there's a video of him floating around somewhere telling that story, and it's hilarious because he has a really good way of telling stories. It's not just his writing.
One of my other favorite random moments from DragonCon was the moment where in the panel following the Dragon Awards, the men in sci-fi or whatever, Larry is on it, Butcher was on it, and beforehand, like all through the con, they've been having donations running for relief from the hurricanes in Texas and whatnot, and everyone's gathering in, we're waiting around, and they mentioned, we have the donation thing, and something was mentioned about how the YA panel got the most donations so far, and the sci-fi and fantasy was like just below it. So Larry got up with a microphone and went on a rampage saying how we need to not let this stand, and we have to dominate the YA section. And it was glorious.
Yeah, they've been doing it in different panels too.
And I believe that he made a tremendous amount of, like, the bucket was overflowing.
Oh, it was great. Everyone, the wallets came out, like, and then in the panel again, like it was this beforehand thing. It was really funny. We were all like laughing along and donating money, and then in the panel, a question was asked, like, what's one advice you'd give to a starting novelist? And it went down the line, answer, got to Larry, and he simply said, donate so we can crush the YA section. And someone came up and put some money in, and he was like, see, she's going to be a best-selling novelist someday.
That's actually recorded by the YouTube recording of that panel at the end.
And Declan Finn has posted a lot of these panels. I haven't watched that one yet, but I watched one of the other ones that he posted a link to. So you can go to his website, and which is Pious Man, I believe. And
that one's audio only.
No, it's DeclanFinn.com.
DeclanFinn.com. Sorry.
DeclanFinn.com.
And anyway, he has either videos or audios for some of these. Let me make finish one quick comment about the Dragon Awards before we move on. And that was when Butcher sent his little video for what he said when he won. He both times he was like, "Oh my gosh, this is so great," and then he just turned off the audio, so you see him talking about how wonderful it is for like a minute, and then but you don't see it. He did it both times. It was really funny.
The second time was funny because he said, "Wait, two of them? You guys are crazy."
Are you drunk?
Yeah.
Yeah, he was like, "Are you feeling okay?"
And then he had this little bit of him just like talking and going on, but we couldn't hear him. I thought it was really cute. My favorite moment during the Dragon Awards was when they called Larry Purnell to come up, and he's sitting next to Jerry Purnell. He's sitting next to Larry Niven, And he gets up, and he's half the man he was physically when I met him years ago. He was like lost. He was narrow and tall instead of broad and tall. He used to look like Porthos. He was like a big guy, you know, and now he was real thin. And he totters forward with his walker. He gets up to the stage, which is like 4 or 5 feet tall, and he picks up the walker, sticks it up, and goes up the stairs. And then when he got to the podium, everybody stood up, they all clapped, and then he recited the names. He was like the only person who didn't stumble on the names. He had memorized them. And I was really impressed.
He gave a really nice speech beforehand. I wish I'd gotten because I got a video of him reading the names, but I didn't get a video of the speech he gave.
He did, and he mentioned how one of the most, famous things he did had not meant to be science fiction, but turned into it. And that was when he and a group of other science fiction writers had helped to develop the what later became called Star Wars, the program for shooting down missiles. But somebody in Congress, and he said who it was, and I can't remember, Ted Kennedy, someone like that, started calling it Star Wars. So it retroactively became associated with science fiction when it wasn't at the time. And I thought that was really cool and really sweet. So those were some of the highlights from the Dragon Awards. And we can spread out and talk about one last Dragon Award comment. I was impressed with the Dragon Award guys when they said, we think of this not just as an award, but as a suggested reading list. Whoever gets nominated is somebody who other people are going to look to read. And in fact, one of the presenters, I think was a movie guy, said, I usually, know all the science fiction books, but there's a lot on this list I've never heard of. I'm going to check them out. And I thought that was wonderful because as the award gets bigger, the chance of a smaller book winning is going to go down and down. But it's still going to be a chance of being nominated because they have 7 nominees, which means that, the 6th or 7th one doesn't need a huge number of votes to get on. And if our books remain there as books that people are going to look back at, as good reading books, I think it's just a wonderful, thing to have happen to us. So I was really proud of all of us who made it on as nominees in there.
A bunch of the nominees were indie books, and I don't think you've seen that with the Hugo Awards.
I've also seen Stranger Things won a Dragon Award as well as Wonder Woman, and they were both really great, fun movies that have been loved.
Yeah, I mean, I thought that the choices that were picked were good. Some of them I didn't know, but the ones I knew were good ones. And the fact that the rest of them were on there, losing to Rick Riordan, Percy Jackson has been a favorite in this house since my son was 6. He just turned 19. So that's many years of sheer joy that this author has given us. So I was, just delighted to see him get the award.
As much as I like Swan Knight's Son and, I read the first Rachel Griffin book, you lost to Rick Riordan. It's going to happen.
Well, exactly. I mean, I could not be disappointed with that because he's someone who not only do I love him, but I've met boys at Boy Scout camp who are counselors whose whole life was changed by his books. I've met young people who've now grown up and they've been reading him since they were little because 15 years isn't that big in the amount of time in an adult's life, but it's a tremendous amount of time in a young person's life. And he's had such an effect. And I'm sure he's won some awards, but you don't hear a lot of awards going to some of these more popular authors and stuff. So, I was just tickled.
That's the great thing about the Dragon Awards is none of us really felt like we lost. It was a win overall because of the spirit of the award itself.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. And I think just being on the award is not only an honor, but it's also valuable. As in, later years, people will be going back and looking. I in my life have often looked back at, I've gone and watched nominees for Oscars back when the Oscars were good. And I've looked at the lists for the Hugos back when the Hugos were good. So I think these lists are valuable to be on. I think it's really, as I say, it's not just an honor. It's actually a concrete value to being on something like this. The bigger the awards get, the more people will look back at the earlier ones. So I think it was really a wonderful thing that we all got to be involved in this. All right, onward.
I do want to note one thing. If you notice the whole kerfuffle about the awards, about the people dropping out, it wasn't just the crazy social justice guys, because apparently Rick Riordan is kind of like believe some of that stuff, but he's actually like he actually cares about his fans for one thing, and pretty much all of the other people who I noticed tried to drop out. I think with I know at least 2 of them in this case were the kinds of people who on Twitter will just attack people who's like, oh, I like your book, but I don't really like this, and they'll go savage their fans. And what you saw here was you saw the people who won were the people who actually, you know, liked their fans.
That leads to 3 comments. 1, I bet Rick Riordan doesn't even know this happened, or maybe they've told him now. That's what usually happens with the big authors, you know. But 2, I think Rick Riordan is not, I don't think he's an SJW. I think he's a guy who is caring towards kids. And so if somebody says to him, but it's not necessarily from a conservative bent. So if somebody says, hey, you know, can you throw in a gay guy? He goes, okay, that's a nice thing to do. That's very different than someone who's a crusading SJW.
Right.
And the third thing is that N.K. Jemisin did win the Eugene Foster Award, which is the short story award that DragonCon puts out. But the Eugene Foster Award is given out at the award banquet, where they give out their awards to the people involved. And the Dragon Awards are an entirely different event. And I'm not sure why they have 2 entirely different award events, but they do.
Well, I bet I would suspect that might just be a legacy thing. The Eugene Foster Award probably was, you know,
it's given out.
It was something they had before the Dragon Awards. So they
Matthew started it last year. It started last year also.
Never mind that.
It's given out by the Dragon Award people running it. Matthew Foster is Eugene Foster is a writer who passed away a couple of years ago, and her husband is the one who organized the award. And it's a literary award. It's meant to be for a literary short story. So I suspect that Jemisin is exactly the kind of person that they want the award to go to. But he's one of the DragonCon organizers. He runs the film track. So it's given out at the ceremony for the people who run the con, rather than at the ceremony that they put together for the Dragon Awards. And I'm not saying that it should be different. I just think it's kind of funny that they have 2 entirely different award presentation things that go on.
Because I know about her, which I was remarking was kind of funny because it's the only way you get on there is your fans vote you in, or people who want to see you on there vote you in. And she retracted because she said that she didn't want to be a token, which is like...
What she said was actually quite nasty. What she said was... because they're not showing us how people voted, it's possible that the Dragon Award organizers put me on here so they'd have a black person. That's what she said.
Wow.
And that's just outrageous. It's insulting to them. It's insulting to her. It's insulting to everybody. The other award, the short story award, is a judged award, and it's you apply to it and get on it in a very different way.
Yeah. It's also insulting to her fans.
Yeah, exactly. Because if her fans are the people who voted her there, and she's claiming that they weren't real, that she was put there for a political reason, I'm sorry for the award that if anyone drops out, but if someone has that attitude, maybe they'd better off going elsewhere.
Yeah, that's the buzz. That's just the buzzkill. In the I write this, but the kind of authors that I've seen, the authors I want to emulate are the guys like Larry Correia and Jim Butcher, who when they meet their fans are just kind of excited about everything.
Well, Larry Correia was there. He was really cheerful. He was presenting an award. He declared right off that if he won, it was going to Ringo. He did win. He gave Ringo wasn't there because he had been scheduled elsewhere. But he, what's that?
He was sleeping off a hangover.
Oh, somebody had said that he was
told
out of town.
us on the street. He was telling everybody.
He made a post on Facebook explaining why he wasn't there.
Yeah, but when
at the time they put it differently. But anyway, whatever it was, he presented it to him later and got a great picture. And he was just really cheerful and good-natured about it. one of the funny things was that one of the guys there was one of the guys responsible for the modern Marvel comics. And I had to signal to my kids to be quiet because I was afraid I lynched the guy or something. But, nobody was mean to him, even though there were a lot of people from what I've seen, reactions who, might have liked to give him a really strong piece of their mind.
It was really interesting hearing him talk because he was on the panel following the Dragon Awards. So Larry and Butcher were on the far right of the table. He was on the far left of the table. But it was all nice discussion. Yeah, I'm sure the way he talked about things, talking about it because he believes in these things and stuff. It was interesting hearing him talk and everyone, Sybil just talking normal and stuff. But it was kind of interesting hearing him say these things and being like, in my head, I was like, oh yeah, these are all the things that like we're kind of like about. But it was interesting hearing everyone just talking about their writing and their careers and this and that and the other.
I will say that the the response from this with everyone's reaction to it makes me want to go, apart from the con crowd claiming one of the greats. But
well, we don't know. I mean, like in fairness, Jerry Pournelle was a really old guy, and really old people have a habit of going in this thing.
They didn't say he was ill; that he just passed away in his sleep. So it may not have been.
I think it was good he came. Because it really was. I think it was a good, like, especially for him, having, like, being out and meeting some people. I don't know how often he'd be.
Well, he was on panels. Some of them were well attended. He got to talk with Niven, his longtime writing partner. I mean, I'm really sad he's gone, but, it's if he had to go, that sounded like a great, way to go out, kind of,
Niven and Pournelle got me interested in science fiction in the first place. Yeah. So these guys are titans of science fiction.
Yeah, I have me, Tom, and Marina were at the last panel, one of the last panels, which was the real science fiction for real writers. Jerry was on that, and he was good-natured. He was cracking jokes with everybody. He was giving good advice, really going out on a high, I think.
That was my impression too.
Yeah, I think it was on Sunday night or Monday. It was one of the last.
Monday afternoon. Yeah.
What?
Monday afternoon.
Yeah, so one of the last panels, possibly the last panel. And I was actually thinking I was so fortunate to get to see him because he looked very frail already.
Yeah. I had met him at a con years ago where it was all new writers except for Jerry Pournelle and Terry Pratchett. And back then he was, really dominated the room. He was, much more, he was really a vibrant person. And his personality was just the same when we saw him here, but he physically had been much reduced. We should definitely ask Declan if he'll post the links he has on Superversive SF near the link for this chat, so that people can go hear some of the panels, get an idea of what DragonCon is like.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. Well, yeah, sorry. It's early for me.
Weird backwards
from jet lag yet, Jason?
I'm over the jet lag, but I've been sick. It hasn't helped.
Thanks for syncing up the time for us. All of us up here in Upside Down Land.
No, it's okay. I kept having to remind him while we were at DragonCon not to, like, he would start walking on his hands. I'd be like, no, Jason, that's not how we do it over here.
Your country
one of the highlights of the trip.
You got to have those light switches, too.
Of the trip was that we got to take Jason shooting, and hopefully tonight, Jason, I'll be able to send you all the pictures.
Cool. I had enormous fun.
Did you have Jason, did you have a blast?
I did.
April. No.
When I went out to California for the Calliope writing conference, on the wall, for some reason, above the refrigerator was the exact target that Jason shot, the same guy that Jason got shot the target for the shotgun. I was really amused that of all things they could have on the wall, they had like nothing else on the wall except this target. But it wasn't nearly as blown away as Jason's had been.
I had a lot of fun traveling to the US and meeting everybody and hanging
That
out.
was-
And
You'll
it was
have
good.
to stock up those memories.
Well, the plan is, if all goes well, we'll do it again next year. Well, maybe not exactly the same, but I'll come for DragonCon, and then if I got time for a bit of holiday afterwards, I'll have to get into Texas to meet a bunch of people this time.
Mhm.
That'll be fun.
Sounds
Yeah,
like a
guys-
plan.
We talked about the awards. Let's hear about the rest of your experience. Let's hear about the rest of the panels. What did you guys like? The costumes, the
Can
panels,
I go
the games?
first since I'll probably have to leave before long?
That's fine.
Yeah.
Go on.
Okay, let's see. My first impression was growing up in a small town and then driving in, even just on Thursday night, there were so many people. It's crazy. I think the scariest moments for me were walking through the how do you say the one hotel's name that starts with an M? I always say it wrong.
Marriott.
Marriott. The scariest thing is walking through the Marriott in the AMs. It is a scary, scary place there. Just so many people, so many costumes, so much strangeness. But aside from that, that, it was a lot of fun because there's always, I think it was fun just seeing all the costumes and people around and people having fun. And also, like, I think I was talking to Jaji one time, and like, if you ever hear people that get all uppity about having characters that other people of skin tones or sexes can play or whatnot, like, if you look at the people at the con and the fans, they really don't care. They'll cosplay anything.
Yeah.
Sometimes there's
That's
things
right.
they shouldn't, but
That is true too. But a lot of them are cool. Hey,
but
April,
for the
you
most
went to
part, what was
you
that?
went to the dances. Can you tell us about that too?
Oh, well, the dances were great, mostly because like I had someone to dance with. But there was a lot of let's see, the first night there was like a 8-bit dance. Now we got to it a couple hours later, so they had I forget what the first songs were, but it ended up just being like classic rock later into the night. I guess they ran out of 8-bit stuff. But that was a lot of fun. A lot of people dancing around, flashy lights. They had lots of water around for people, which was good because when I danced a lot and then I had to remind myself to drink. Let's see. Then we went to the next night. There was a swing dance. And at first, looking at the schedule on the app, it said I wasn't quite sure if it was a dance or just the orchestra. But when we got there, it was a nice big open floor, more fun lights, a live band playing and people singing. So that was a lot of fun. There was like a lot of people at the dances. The smallest dance was the next night. Was a ball. I think it was like one of the first years they did like a I forget what it was called, just some sort of like little ball. That one had a smaller room, but they had a lot of variety of songs. And people that was for like if you wanted to dress up in a cool dress and dance around. My date dressed up as some characters from John's book, which was fun. I think it was fun. There's a good bit of people, especially at the first two dances. And
well,
it sounded like
Which two
Don't make us
characters?
guess who.
Hal and Laurel from Iron Chamber of Memories.
Ah,
It was a sneaky cosplay because it just looked like a regular suit and then a white dress. But it was technically still those characters.
I was gonna guess if it was a fancy ball, I would have gone with Princess Rania of Monaco.
I don't think she's read that yet.
oh, you've been missing out.
She did, however, dress up one day as Nerea, the mermaid from Swan Knight's Son, which was
yes,
up for the
I
Dragon
did dress
Award,
up as the
which was very
character
cool.
in the book that was nominated for the Dragon Awards. Which that costume was simple. It was a wetsuit, but I just used my like dance pieces, like leggings and tights and whatnot,
wetsuit
and then
dark
mirrored
glasses.
sunglasses.
It was all in black with dark glasses. It was quite cute.
But yeah, the dances were actually pretty fun. There was a lot of people at the dances. Though they always started at like 1 a.m. So I didn't really sleep at DragonCon. Like I'm pretty sure
I don't think anybody does.
No one does. You really can't sleep at DragonCon. The latest I stayed up was 4:45 in the morning.
Well, I was driving, so I had to sleep.
4:45 in the
hotel room
morning.
to crash at for most of the nights.
Amateur.
The only time I got...
There was one time that we were only staying at the hotel some nights, and then the other nights we just went back to my brother's place, which is about 30, 45 minutes away. So there was one night after a dance, we stopped at Walmart at 3 a.m. to get card sleeves for a Magic game. And there was still a line at Walmart. At 3 a.m., there was still a line at Walmart.
Mm-hmm.
But
Walmart
I think,
never closes.
It's like I don't know. It's a strange place. The panels were definitely fun. We got definitely when you go to DragonCon, make like a loose pick out the things you'd like to see. Make like a loose outline, but you just have to play it by ear. Like sometimes you'll get to a panel and it'll be like packed out, or you'll end up just wanting to sit down. So just like make a loose outline and then just hit what you can as you feel like it, or as the day goes. But there's always lots going on, lots of people, cool panels. The panels were always interesting. I don't think I ever went to a boring panel. I did go to, I think one of my favorite moments was there was a panel with like John Ringo and a bunch of other writers who were also military vets, telling stories at like 12. I think it went on, like it went past the time it was supposed to. Mm-hmm. Wow, there were some tales in that.
Yeah, apparently that's a carryover from
John Ringo standing in a utilikilt telling I forget which story he was telling. But that was the same night we went to Walmart, and the same night as the ball. It was just like all the stuff happens at DragonCon. Just take it all in.
When we got there, they told us there was a 2-hour wait for many panels, and you might still not get in 2 hours. So that completely turned my boys off to the idea, and they didn't go to a single panel. But there was an entire building just of games, one section for role-playing games and one section for board games, and there was another entire building just of vendors. So even without going to panels, I was told by a friend that DragonCon is actually 30 different cons. It's got like 30 tracks, and each of them is like a small con in of itself. So you can go to DragonCon and just watch movies. You can go to DragonCon and just play games. You can go to DragonCon and just see YA panels or go see the urban fantasy track. And it really has a tremendous amount of different things going on. It also was very nicely set up near a place that had a large underground food court, so that you had access to food without having to go too far if you wanted to.
Yeah.
Which I thought was nice, because I've gone to conventions that are not near anything like that, and it's kind of annoying.
Mm-hmm. The only time we ran into a problem getting into a panel was we went to like something hour with Jim Butcher. And when we got there, I forget how early we were, maybe 15 to 30 minutes early.
Was it solo hour with Jim Butcher?
It was what?
Was it solo hour with Jim Butcher? Because I watched that online.
It may have been. Okay, but listen. So we got there, however early, and there was a line out the door down the hall, and they were like, "These are just the people that are really hopeful that they'll maybe be able to get in. Like the room's already packed, and there was this huge line of people hoping they could maybe squeeze in." And so that kind of set us up though for every time we wanted to try and make it to a Jim Butcher signing. Or a panel or something, we would want to like try and get there ahead of time. I think the only panel we saw was the one right after the Dragon Awards, and so like one of us like went out early from the Dragon Awards to like make sure they got in line, but there was actually a lot of room in that panel. And then what was the other thing? Oh yeah, and then we wanted to make sure we got our books signed by Larry, so we just went around the vending hall where the Bane booth was set up for like 2 hours, so that we were at the front of the line. And then got to talk to Larry.
Where you showed the video of you hopping around and basically vibrating like an engine.
So what it's like, okay, this is what it's like seeing Larry. Okay, let me explain what it's like seeing Larry Correa for the first time. I'm standing there. I've been around for a while. You know, we're chatting some people in line. And then suddenly I see the mountain that writes. And I just can't contain myself. I start like jumping around and squealing, and just like a huge grin splits my face that is impossible to remove. And I like Jaji goes up and is able to introduce me and be like, "Hey, this is," and not only am I just a fan, but Jaji's like, I'm a friend of Jaji, that Larry knows John and Jaji, and I'm also in the same anthology as him, so he probably thinks, he's like, okay, yeah, like he told me I was awesome one time, and that if I work hard I can get a Dragon Award, and I'm keeping that in my heart forever until I do get a Dragon Award. And then you just are filled with the fanness that just you cannot be contained. The fangirl cannot be contained.
Did you dance?
Yeah.
She did a dance when he won the
was-
Dragon Award, and it's online. We should post that on the.
Yes.
Did you put that on the website? That we need to post that there.
There's also that weird
think I
improv
did.
thing I saw.
Oh my gosh!
Yes,
Yes.
the
Look,
improv
okay.
dance.
Let me
The
explain that
alien
one.
dance.
Let me explain that one. So we were at a improv panel where there's a bunch of people on the panel doing like this improv game story thing, and at one point, one of the random cards was something about how the aliens are now using interpretive dance to communicate, and they didn't even finish saying the words "we need a volunteer" when my hand was up. And so then I got out there in my like leather skirt and like weird top thing and started just moving. Like I saw the video and I kind of died.
Yeah,
I think Corey
I
saw
got
it.
video of it.
And she said,
It was pretty funny.
Oh
She
my
fell
goodness.
off the couch when she saw the video.
I was like, I'm really like that. Wow. Okay.
I saw her fall off the couch. That's
but
the
everyone
scary
loved
part.
Yes, you were there.
Everyone loved
You were
it. And
there.
afterwards, Larry looked at me and he said, "Hey, April, nice dance." And I was like, he knows my name. Like,
It's
everyone after
kind
the
of hard to
panel,
forget.
like, everyone on the panel, and like I think even Bridget like complimented it.
You have
And, like,
to
everyone
understand, with Larry Correa remembering April, that not only was she utterly adorable, but her boyfriend showed up dressed as his Cookie Monster in fatigues with Cookie Monster glasses and his Oreo cookie and his cookie baller. And all these, I don't remember all the gear, but and Larry was delighted to meet this character, you know, a physical version of this character. So
Yeah,
though, I think
Made
that
up that
couple,
guy in like a.
and it was also cool because Larry's in Forbidden Thoughts, so
yeah,
me
so he
and
got to
Chris
sign
got
the
to have
book
it
for both
signed.
of them. So he's not going to forget the couple of young writers showing up, dressed as his characters in a book
And we
with
got
him.
to talk to him a couple times outside of that. Like we ran into him several times, and one time he told us we were awesome. And like for 5 minutes or 10 minutes afterwards, I kept just turning to Pierce, going, "He said we were awesome."
So cute. All right, guys, I gotta go. I will turn it over to the rest of you and
I
listen
will
later.
probably also have to
See you,
go,
Judgy.
See ya.
or maybe I can hang around a minute. I'll probably leave in like 5 minutes.
The reason I asked with that was because you ended up pinning my dad in a corner, showing him that video and like a dozen other pictures.
Yeah,
Yes.
I have no regrets.
Yeah. For more context, the day apparently Jason went shooting, I finished up all my classes at university early, and then my dad picked me up and we drove down to the Wrights, which, yeah, that was fun. I mean,
Through
we got the best of Philly, DC, and Baltimore rush hour traffic. But with Philly rush hour traffic, it was less of rush hour traffic and more of there are 3 accidents in.
Pretty good, but
yeah. There's
DC
basically like
PA is
3
pretty bad.
accidents on the way. No, just one accident, but it was like right through the one street that we had to go through, so we spent like 15 minutes trying to find a way around it. But I mean, it was awesome to meet the Wrights. We had an awesome time. April lost it.
I was there.
Yeah.
Yes.
I got to be in the same room as John C. Wright and Larry Correa.
Larry Correa's double.
Well, okay.
If anyone hasn't
but-
seen the pictures, for context about the Larry Correa double, if anyone hasn't seen the pictures, when we got to meet Larry Correa, we got pictures of Jason and Larry standing next to each other, and like
Yes.
they are like
terrifying.
so similar.
Yeah.
Alternate world clones.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They're no. Wait. Who was it that said that? Was it you, Jason? You said, well, okay, if I'm his double, like I live on the other side of the world, so he's on this side of the world, I'm on the other side. So does that make what was
I'm
it? Does
South
that make
Korea and he's North Korea.
Yeah, but Dad, my dad said that dye the beard and he could probably go stand in for some book signings.
Well, if all goes well and I make it next year, I'll dye the beard and cut the hair a bit, and I got a couple of T-shirts made up with official Larry Correa decoy and official Larry Correa stunt double. And I had permission to do that. Larry said, "Yeah, that's fine. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Send
Okay,
photos."
well, I'm gonna fun chatting with all y'all, so I'm going to head off now. So you guys, the rest of you, can now have your turn to speak now that me and Judgy are gone.
That's
Thanks,
fine. See you, April.
Bye.
All right.
April.
Good
Bye.
evening, everyone. Bye.
Bye.
And the room goes quiet.
Yeah.
Tell us about your
silence.
adventure here in Opposite Land, where everything's upside down and water spirals the wrong way down the.
It doesn't. No, it doesn't. Actually, that was the weird part. The toilets don't go the other way. That's not true. Coriolis effect is real, but it has effects on the scale of like ocean currents, not toilet bowls, where the local physics, like the local fluid dynamics of the bowl, wildly overwhelm something as subtle as Coriolis effect. Anyway, your light switches are all upside down though. All our light switches are down for on, and yours are all up for on. So,
Was it shocking that not everything here is poisonous?
I mean,
yeah, I encountered your insects, and it's like, yeah, none of these are poisonous. That's weird, because everything here is dangerous.
And not everything wants to
not
kill
everything
you.
on the continent is trying to kill you.
Yeah, it was weird. It was a nice change. It was a nice change. No, I definitely had fun on the trip. It was good getting to meet people. It was I don't know. The US and Australia are quite different. In some ways, they're sort of they're Western countries, but we have way more fast food than we do. So I had a lot of that while I was there. Chick-fil-A is awesome.
Yes.
I really enjoyed that. I went there a couple of times. It's very good. But there's lots of other good food. And
The only problem with Chick-fil-A
I love
is
chicken.
that the only problem with Chick-fil-A is that the only day that you're ever going to like really intensely crave it is Sunday, the day that it's never open.
Closed, yes. Well, our Chick-fil-A is at the mall, and our malls are closed on Sunday, so it works out.
There you go. But it was good coming over to meet everyone, and just meet everyone in person, which was weird. Well, it was good, but just all you guys that I've worked with and other people that I've exchanged emails with and chatted with for years online, to actually meet them in person was great. It's a long plane ride to get there, though.
Yeah, me too.
It's a 15-hour plane ride for me, so that's all right. I'll do it again next year. And I hate flying. Oh, that's the only
Hopefully
problem.
I can do it in a few years and join you guys, but unfortunately, DragonCon is like the second or third week of school for me, so I can't actually go. Yeah.
Oh, that's not good.
So, yeah. So
Well, might think of LibertyCon, because that's in June.
I'm not coming for 2 cons.
Yeah.
Well, I could
Corey might.
honestly, I've heard good things about LibertyCon. I could probably eventually at some point get there, but travel's a bit expensive right now, and I'm in broke college student mode right now, so.
Yeah, I'm a broke parent of a college student mode. So
oh gosh, that's just as bad.
I know. I talked about coming over for LibertyCon, but I think I'll come back for DragonCon instead. There's more to do, and
there's more everything.
More potential. Well, more potential for marketing and things like that. We had some ideas while we were there, so there's more potential for that. Whereas LibertyCon sounds like it's a convention for writers, which not really our target market.
It is very much a conference for writers.
I'm sure it's good. It sounds like it's fun, but it's not exactly that. It's
just a way to meet people, I guess.
It's not the best bang for our buck. So, and given it's expensive and a big production to get there, I'd rather go to the 80,000.
Yeah, I guess if you're gonna go to one, you could just stick to the writing track on DragonCon too.
No, I'm never going to do that because I'm a big Filk fan, and I met a whole lot of Filkers that I've been fans of for years, and I'll definitely go to that.
I might be out of the thing, but what's Filking or Filk?
Filking is sort of comedy music, folkish music, but it's basically comedy music, typically with a sort of nerd theme.
Ah, okay.
It's kind of loosely sci-fi related, I guess.
Loosely. It varies, but I had a blast meeting a bunch of those guys, so I had enormous fun. But to keep me up till 3:30 on the Saturday night. And then I went and slept on Marina and Dawn's concrete hotel room floor, which was remarkably uncomfortable. That's not your fault. That's fine. It was remarkably uncomfortable.
And we kept him up even later, yakking.
Yeah. It was interesting walking through Atlanta. It was interesting walking through Atlanta at 2:30 in the morning, though. It's like,
yeah, especially when I
scary.
we couldn't figure out where we were going.
Well, Jason, you're cute.
Yeah, well,
that's why it's not scary.
Yeah, I know.
Like,
I'm 6'3", so I don't have much to worry about. But you know.
Okay,
yeah, they need to, the Atlanta streets. They need to like in a grid.
They need more signs.
Yeah, they definitely need DragonCon dummy signs because we could never figure out where we were going. We got Marina and I got stuck outside the kilt blowing.
Yes,
line because we forgot we were supposed to go down the escalator.
Go down to go up. Apparently,
and and we couldn't find the hallway we were supposed to go through.
So we're just using our imagination with all the kilts. We didn't actually make it to the event.
Yeah, we didn't go to the kilt
too excited. Next time, maybe.
Yeah. Well, one of the times some of the entrances got shut from the game building, which is America's Mount 1. So I ended up getting lost and not making one of the panels I wanted to go to. Just trying to find a way out of one of the buildings.
Wow, Ben got lost, but had to be bad. Because he was like our navigator the whole time.
Yeah, we were counting on him to get us where we needed to go.
Yeah. And then we're like, hey, Ben is gone. What do we do now?
But the panel with the discussion panel about the Once and Future King, that was really good. I was getting a bit with all the people making all these different points about how T.H. White was actually repressed gay and all these things that he wanted to put in the book, and I was getting a bit worried. And then Jody turned up and started contributing a bit more superversive nature to the conversation. We were able to make some very good points, and I was able to show my video, and everybody loved it, and that was really uplifting.
Was that the video for Anthony's thing?
Yeah.
Nice.
And one of them actually asked me if I was performing at DragonCon, and that made me feel really good. That was so it was very rewarding, that particular event. And I'm a real introvert, so I hate real crowded spaces. So DragonCon was a struggle at times, but then there was the option to go to the gaming room, and that was a lot more relaxed. So that was a way to sort of recover from the stress of the crowded corridors. So there's opportunities for all types of people to be happy, and the con suite we eventually found with Marina's help through the secret handshake and the secret door.
The secret place, yes, with the secret stairs.
Yeah, so I was able to just have a little lie down on the balcony away from everybody and just get my head back on track and recover from the various stresses that are not unpleasant, but for my personality
taxing still.
Just kind of an overload. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a very good event. I'm very glad I went. I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to go again, because we have 5 kids. They start school when DragonCon happens, and when school starts is the most disorganized and chaotic part of the year, when school tells you all the things you should have had that they somehow managed to not tell you should have. And,
yes, that's the worst part of coming back.
And there's unexpected costs and everything, and it's not really fair to let my wife have to deal with all of that. So I'm not sure whether I'll be able to go again, but I'm very glad I did. I'm very glad I got to meet all of you, and we'll see what happens in the future, whether that can ever be repeated.
Excellent.
Fair enough, because I'll try and get back next year if all goes well. So.
Yeah, we should definitely try for something.
Yeah, my cousin said that they'd be very happy to have as many people as we like staying with them. But it's just far too expensive to take everybody. So.
I wonder whether if we go next year, we should try and rent a house out on the Marshall Line somewhere, and then use that as a home base.
Well, we can plan it so we can all guarantee to be there at a particular time. We could do that, or maybe have
take over a floor of the Marriott.
Well,
sleep at the airport.
Yeah, if only. But maybe to stay at a cheaper hotel where we could share rooms and just take Martha together. I mean, the reason I wanted to be close is because I didn't want to take public transport by myself. So.
I will warn you about some of the cheaper hotels because we ended up staying at like a motel for a wedding that my family attended, and it can make even the most joyous and fun events seem like torture if whenever you're trying to sleep, it sounds like a jet engine's going off right by you because they don't know how to fix the air conditioner, so it just makes noise and actually...
yeah, okay. That's what TripAdvisor reviews are for.
Yeah.
But,
are there some things we would want to let people know are coming up from Superversive Press?
We have yes, we have a few things coming out. We have Astounding Frontiers 3 is late, but it's nearly there. Traveling in the middle of the month didn't help with that. What else? Once and Future King will be out soon, and Mega 2020 is coming together too. Tales of the Once and Future King. Fine. I'm putting that together at the moment, actually. So those are things immediately on the horizon. So.
Yeah, Maga, I think it's more like November.
I think so. Yes.
Yeah, and I'm coming together though.
Yep.
I'm working on an almost, while I'm also doing the serial Daughter of Soul.
Focus.
It's fine. Go. Trust me. I'm also working on what's basically going to be a series of short, almost novels. Almost novella-sized novels. So they're going to be ridiculously short. I think, like, by the SIFLA and Nebula Award standards, they'd technically be novels, but they're like 5,000 words away from being novellas. And I'm having the editor of Tales of the Once and Future King also edit that. It'll be quite fun. And, of course, Daughter of Soul, the serial that I've been writing. And the Fever Blood, which is going to take a while, but I am editing it. It's just taking forever because I can't write small. That's what happens when I write 400,000 words.
Planetary fiction.
I'm sorry.
Is going to be amazing.
Wow.
Yes, I'll get that to you later today.
Yes. And yeah, the final stories are finally coming in. I got John's, Jazzy's is coming up, and Corey's. And it's going to be truly amazing. Probably not going to have it out next month because of everything that's coming in, but whether we release Mercury first or Mercury with the other three at the first time, definitely something for everyone to look forward to. Science fiction and fantasy with a planetary theme.
Yes, that will be definitely.
That's all coming together. That's a large project. We should have a novella coming out by a baseball novella coming out by John Delarose shortly as well. We have to finish getting organized. We got a bunch of things going on.
I feel bad about myself because he just writes so much, and I feel like
he does.
Slacker.
He's not in school, maybe.
That's probably why.
That helps.
But he has a family and he has a job and he still does 6 billion things.
Yeah.
He just has this energy.
Yeah, I'm like,
I
want like 10% of it.
So, all right. Do people have other things they'd like to share about DragonCon, or should we wrap this one a little bit early and I'm going back to bed?
I will say this is semi-DragonCon related because it happened right afterwards. where I got to meet you and Jaji and
that was fun.
Yeah, and John, which was awesome. I was almost as fan crazed as April was. However, Baltimore and DC rush hour traffic will kill that in you.
Yes.
Yeah,
the traffic in this area is truly soul draining. So.
Yeah, once you get on the Beltway, it's just like you can see your hopes and dreams die in front of your eyes. Slowly.
I've never heard.
Yeah, it was awesome to actually go meet some of these people, and I ended up loaning out the first book of the Golden Age to one of my teachers, which I'm pretty sure she's gonna love.
Retreat.
Yep. Yeah.
All right.
Other than that, that's it.
Well, I think we'll wrap the stream up there. Thank you, everyone, for listening. I hope you've enjoyed it. Just a short one this time. And we'll eventually get better organized at getting these things together.
Okay.
Thanks for listening.
Thank you, everyone.